Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Let's do the Mangalacharan. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanajanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So good to have you. Hare Krishna Ishan, Hare Krishna Jai, and Hare Krishna Rajesh. Rajesh ji, I'm not sure if you are the one I'm thinking you are. If you are one of those who has lovely two Vaishnav devotees, it will be great to see you if we can. Otherwise, after Mangalacharan, and today Krishna Chaitanya is missing because Krishna Chaitanya loves doing Hare Krishna. Well, actually, Adi loves doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Krishna Chaitanya loves doing Narsimha Dev's Aarti. And if in case you haven't seen his session, I will find out. I think last time I didn't show, but well, not worth showing because it's good to show and share once he's here. He has done Narsimha Aarti. Or you might remember that we did Narsimha Aarti, or we do Narsimha Aarti every session now. But Krishna Chaitanya did Narsimha Aarti. His mom recorded that because he did it on the drums. And different devotees do it different ways, but he did it on his drums. And so beautifully done, so beautifully done. And we know he got the love and taste for Narsimha Devs. And recently we had Narsimha Dev's Chaturdashi, which is the 14th day of 15 days moons waning and waxing. So we have those, and we really celebrated very well. And I will try to find out because his mom shared the link and I watched it as well. So I will share with every one of you. It will be really, really good. So now, who would like to do Narsimha Dev's Aarti, please? Any volunteer, please.
Will you allow me to do that?
Haribo, yes, please go for it.
1 minute.
Sure, no worries. So hope you're listening. I will say the way usually we do. So whoever the speaker is, which happens to be you today, you do the first line, and all of us we will follow with you. So you do the first line, we will repeat after you. Then you follow. You do the second line, then we will repeat after you. And all other devotees, they can unmute themselves.
Okay.
Whenever you
Bhakti Vigna Vinashana Sri Nrsimha Bhagavan ki.
Jai.
Bhakta Shrimani Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlad Lad Daine.
Prahlad Lad Daine.
Hiranyakashipur Bhakshaya.
Hiranyakashipu Vakaha.
Shilatanka Nakhalaye.
Shilatanka Nakalaye.
Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha.
Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha.
Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha.
Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha.
Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimha.
Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha.
Yato yato yami tato Nrsimha.
Yato yato yami tato Narasimha.
Bahi Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha.
Mahe Narasimha Hirde Narasimha.
Bahi Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha.
Mahe Narasimha Hirde Narasimha.
Bahi Nrsimha Hridaye Nrsimha.
Mahe Narasimha Hirde Narasimha.
Narasinghamadem Sharanam Prapadye.
Narasimhadim Sharanam Prapade.
Tava Kara Kamalavare Nakham Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubhringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare.
Tav kar kamal bare nakam utashenga. Hiranyakashiput linga. Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare.
Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare जय जगदीश हरे
केशवदेता नर हरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय नृसिंहदेव जय नृसिंहदेव नृसिंहदेव जय नृसिंहदेव
जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव
जय नरहरि जय नरहरि नरहरि जय नरहरि
जय नरहरि 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 जय नरहरि
जय जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जय जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय श्रील प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
भक्ति विघ्न विनाश नृसिंह भगवान की
जय
भक्त शिरोमणि श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की
जय
जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की
जय
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
जय
समवेत वैष्णव वृंद की
जय
गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरि हरि बोल जय जय श्री राधे श्याम थैंक यू सो मच Hare Krishna. Would you like to sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra as well for us, Rajesh? You're brilliant.
Yes.
Please.
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने
Namaste.
विष्णुपदाय
कृष्णपृष्ठाय
भूतले
श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Nittai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaur Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
जय जय राधा माधव की
Jai,
जय नृसिंह भगवान की
Jai,
जय गौर निताय की
Jai,
जय तुलसी महारानी की
Jai,
जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की
Jai,
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
Jai,
समवेत वैष्णव वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल.
Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Such a great pleasure to have you with us. And we do have other devotees, especially Krishna Chaitanya, who loves doing Narasimha Dev's Aarti, and Adi, who loves doing Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is great. But this is that time of the year,
Pardon?
especially for secondary, it's the exam times, because next week and week after, one of them, like my son is going to have end of year exam next week, and some other friends they're going to have next to next. So good to have Ishan, who is also in secondary. So thank you, because we can always or we should able to take time for Krishna, at least an hour or two now and then, whenever we can. So good to have you. And so good to, I was about to say, so good to have you, Jay, because Jay joins us from far distance and other side of the world. Same with Devesh and Devika, and they couldn't make it today. But glad the recording is there if in case devotees would like to catch up, which usually happens later. Right, okay. So thank you, Prabhuji. Rajeshji, you are here with us. And what we're doing, we usually do Bhagavad Gita, but then in between around at the end of chapter 15, Bhagavad Gita for kids, we took a bit of break and we started doing a new series, especially oriented for kids, but we have done this with adults as well. And this is called self-discovery or journey for yourself. Journey, self-discovery for yourself. You discover yourself, the journey of self-discovery. There are different names, but the idea is that we are going to discover our own self. Now, who are we? So we have already done few sessions in the past. So the very first one we did was introduction, the introduction to self-discovery. The second one was higher inquiry, which is where we said aham brahmasmi, that we should inquire who are we really and what is the higher inquiry. And then we figure out the higher inquiry is actually that we should know that who is God. That was the next session. Then once we found out who is God and we discussed, we went logically. So all the wisdom, all the knowledge is coming from Bhagavad Gita and from Srila Prabhupada's books. But we have put together in the presentation for everyone, not only for kids, even for adults to get engaged, very logically going through from different questions, different sessions, And now moving from higher inquiry to who is God to who am I. And then when we found out who is God, because that was supposed to be the higher inquiry at the second session. Third one, who is God? The fourth one, we understood the higher inquiries to inquire about God, and we found who God is, who is Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we do need to find out who are we. And once we found out who are we, how we are connected to that Supreme Lord. So we do need to know the relationship in between both of us. And to understand that, the very first question comes up, that what's the purpose of this creation? And that's the session we are doing, purpose of creation. Then a couple of other sessions left, which is the next one going to be, then we know, we found out what the purpose of creation is at the end of the session. Then we're going to find out what are we supposed to do here. Obviously, these two things, they go hand in hand. And I always give the example of shopping complex. You know, when we go to the shopping complex, we need to understand what's the purpose of shopping complex. Once we will understand the purpose of shopping complex, we will understand why we are there in the shopping complex. We are there temporarily just to do the shopping. We are supposed to go back home, right? If we will not figure out what's the purpose of shopping complex, when we will go in the shopping, and if we will forget that we are here to do your shopping, we might say, okay, we would like to stay here. We might start developing the relationship with the owner of the shopping complex, or the people who work there, or the fellow shoppers, right? The fellow devotees. But we do need to realize the purpose of shopping complex is to sell temporary, and then purpose of us being there is to go back. And that's the next thing, yoga ladder, because yoga is the yoga as such, as it says, the between material and spiritual, or between us devotees and Krishna. What's that joint in between, that union in between two of us? That's yoga. And then the last one, obviously we discuss a lot of practical aspects of it, but at the end we're going to do what is the practical application of Bhagavad Gita, where we will summarize all these together in one, right? So this is what we have been doing. This is what we're going to do now, following up. So where we left, and Rajesh ji, feel free to chip in anytime. We keep it as a discussion. Obviously, when more devotees join, then we have a lot more discussion, but feel free. And Ishan knows, so anytime we use the chat, we raise the virtual hands, or just unmute yourself and say things, right? And this is the best part of Zoom, because there are devotees who check the recording, there are devotees who are watching live online now, but they will not able to get engaged. And that's the reason I invite everyone to come and join Zoom. But of course, the time and, well, like Prabhupada ji said, time, place, and circumstances, it doesn't suit everyone. So with that, what we do, we always record, or we live broadcast. Right. So where we have been, what we have been discussing so far, that in the material world, every soul is trying to imitate God. And this is what we are going to learn later, chapter 15, Bhagavad Gita, where we see that there is a tree and there is the reflection of the tree. If the tree is not there, the reflection of the tree wouldn't be there. So the way Srila Prabhupada ji explains, the tree itself, which is the real tree, is the spiritual world. And this material world is the mere reflection. Now, if you would like to go and get the fruits of the trees, we can see the fruits of the trees as the image on the water, right? But if we will get into the water and we try to grab those fruits, we will not able to, nothing will come out. And that's the reason in this material world, doesn't really matter how much hard work we will do to gain bigger house, faster cars, expensive clothes. Doesn't matter how much material opulences we gather, we will never able to be happy. You know why? Because we are not made for it. Why? Because those fruits, doesn't really matter how much we will try to eat, it's illusion. We will never able to. So Srila Prabhupada explains this, very, very, very temporary. It will look promising, but we have seen in the world, and we have seen some of the examples, and we will see again how many of those who have been working so hard to gather material opulences, but despite that fact, And of course, if you see Bill Gates, who been the richest person on the planet for so many years, and I think he's not the richest anymore. The reason being he realized that all that wealth he has received, now he needs to give it back to the society. And that's the only reason he has come down now. He's full-time retired and full-time joined the charity started by him and his wife. So his wife was full-time anyways, and he was part-time in that charity and full-time in Microsoft. He left Microsoft. He has resigned from there. Of course, he still owns the place, the enterprise, but he's now full-time because he understood the reality that it's not just gathering the money. So it doesn't really matter how much. Imitate God. Why? Because God is the enjoyer, like Krishna says. Krishna is the one who enjoys. But we try to. We should not. Right? This is where we say that Krishna is there in everyone as Paramatma, Paramatma, super soul. And the reason we cannot enjoy here because this is what Krishna said to Arjun when Arjun said, well, even the wind, I think it's easier for me to control the wind, but I can't control. Looks like something else from outside. Looks like somebody else is there. My mind is not in my control. What shall I do? What Krishna says, the reasons is 3 material modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Then again, chapter 14, chapter 17, chapter 18, Bhagavad Gita gives details. The knowledge in goodness, passion, ignorance. What kind of learning we have, what kind of association we have, the kind of food we eat. It could be passion, it could be ignorance, or it could be the goodness. If we follow Bhagavad Gita, you could see it's not only for the spiritual, but even the material. For example, this material body, because we are going to give food. And if we will have ignorant food or the goodness food based on what we're going to give to this body, the body will react back in the same manner. And we have seen this. So where we are, we do need to realize that we are in a jail. Why? Because in the Shastras, it has been said it's a dukh alya. Alya is a place. So Vidya alya. Vidya is the knowledge. Alya is a place. So where you get Vidya, where you get the knowledge in ancient India, even now in Hindi, but I guess everybody uses schools. But we used to call Vidyalaya. And it used to remind everyone we are there in the school to learn, to get study, right? And similarly, there are many more. Like what we could say, Dukhalya. Dukh is a sorrow. Dukh is full of miseries. Alya. So this place, this material planet, Earth, is described as Dukhalya. So what else would you expect if you go to the school, if you go to Vidyalaya, you will expect Vidya, you will expect knowledge, study. And in Dukhalaya, we could only expect Dukh, nothing else. But we keep working hard, but we won't get it. We will never get it. And even if we will get it, it's only temporary. It's only temporary. We can't get more than that. And what kind of? Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, they explain it. How? What kind of enjoyment? Somebody might say, oh, well, we get it. And somebody did say to me that you don't know how to enjoy life. Even though I can't figure out who could enjoy life more than devotees, right? Obviously, being further away and the restrictions. But there was a time I used to go to the Mangla Aarti. And Mangla Aarti right in the morning, 4 a.m. Now imagine whom you will find 4 a.m. dancing in ecstasy, transcendental, with devotees at the front of the Lordship. Hare Krishna. Who could enjoy that? And that's another reason. Somebody said, well, everything is nice. So one of the Prabhuji, he said that one of the new Brahmachari joined. He stayed there in the temple for 3 months. And after that, he said, I can't live at this place. I'm going. So Prabhuji said, the in charge, Prabhuji asked, so, okay, all right. Anything problem? Did you find here? Would you like to give any feedback? He said, no, everything is good. The place is good. The people are good. And the prashadam, the food is beautiful, awesome. So nutrient to the heart, not only to the body. He said, okay, but you are leaving. He said, only one thing if you could change. They said, what? He said, 4 o'clock in the morning, it's too early. And of course, 4 o'clock we are there, which means we wake up around 3, half 3, right? Freshen up, travel there if you're not living. But of course, the guy was there, the devotee was there in the temple. So you got to wake up before 4 to be there at the front of the Lordship at 4 and forget. Think about those devotees who get the dressing ready for the Lord because they are the priest inside, right? And he said, I can't just get my head around 4 o'clock. Why it's that early? And of course, our Shastra says Brahmurat. Now, Prabhuji, being Prabhuji, so experienced, he said, well, have you heard when the birthday parties, wedding parties, or the disco and all these happens, what time it happens? He said, well, of course it happens late in the evening. I said, why? And whenever somebody needs to go to the temple, why it's always early in the morning? Because of the gunas, mode of ignorance. And that's why devotees sleep early, wake up early, right? Because we don't want to be. There's so many guys, and I'm sure all of us know, at the time of, if you think about, Hare Krishna Devesha Deveka, I've just noticed you've been here. Thank you so much for your
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Blessings to both of you. So we were just discussing that what this place is. And in this story, that I had my eyes closed. I was there in the story. But in this story, one of the Prabhuji was in the temple and he was leaving. So another Prabhuji said, why? And he said, 4 in the morning, you wake up. So if you could change the time. And the Prabhuji said, well, see, if you need to do something good, you wake up early. If you need to do something in mode of ignorance, that's the reason you will do in the evening, late evenings, right? And that's one of those things, especially for the kids. I always say, if you need to study and if you want to experiment, because a lot of times if it's not our personal realization, we can't trust it. And fair enough, we all should have the realization. For example, if I will say this is a sweet, taste it. If you like it, then that's it. But of course, then you can't really experience everything. Yeah, you can't really experience everything. You've got to trust others as well. For example, somebody will say this is a snake, it will bite, right? And you don't say, oh, let me try. No, you can't. And that's what we call Shabd Pramana. Shabd, the words, Pramana is the evidence. So we trust the Shastras, we trust the Acharyas as well. We don't really need to get, but wherever we can have the self-realization, because self-realization stays with us. And this is what we are. Being the kids, well, I do the studies as well. And Saturday, Sundays actually study goes even further. But being kids, try if you have not tried. If you wake up early in the morning, like 4, 5 to study, great. But if you do in the evening, in the night, then try to switch it to the morning and see the difference. See the difference. A lot of studies, the research has happened that those who study in the morning, because the brain power is much. Arun found out a research recently when he said, okay, between 4 and 5 is like your 90% brain is working. But if you go 5 to 6, it's 80%. And then it goes down and down and down. But yes, of course, but by experience, we can see, right? Being in the jail is a restricted place. And we have seen it. This place, somebody is in the jail. If you will go in the jail and you meet, Hare Krishna, yes, please.
This is Devish speaking. One is 100% of your brain working.
100%, the consciousness, our consciousness, it says it's very hard. But how we could do it, we have to practice. And that's one of the reasons we do the name of the Lord. We do the chanting, right? So if you go and you practice yourself, so 100%, everything is not just on the timing. So timing, again, depends where you are, but Brahm Muhurat is between usually, so between 3:45 till 4:15. So 3:45 a.m. to 3:45 a.m. to 4:15 a.m. That's half an hour, it says. So just before 4, it's the maximum, but it's hard to say whether it will be 100%. Why? Because it's not only the time, it's what time did you sleep last night? That also matters. And what type of consciousness you have. Where are you? That also mentioned. We went to the temple, we stayed in the temple. And being the initiated devotees, we do 16 malas every day. But Aryan, he did 64 of them, 16 times 4, 64 rounds every day for 3 days when we were in the temple. Now, how he managed to do it? Because he could focus. His consciousness was clean when he was in the temple. And that's why we say, always stay in the association of devotees. Always. So to answer your question, Devesh, 100%, it's not only the timing. It's a kind of is the kind of food you eat, is the time you sleep, and what you've been thinking. So The Power of Now is a book written by one of the great spiritual leader. And in there, he explains very nicely, if we learn how to focus our mind on present without thinking about the miseries of the past or the desires we will get or we get fulfilled in future, if we just focus on the present, then our consciousness will be clean. And that's what we say, students preparing for the exams, don't you think what will happen if the exam will be hard, whether we're going to get this or that? No. When you're preparing, when you're doing the study, just study. That's it. And anyways, in Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita that we have the freedom to do the actions. We are not we don't have the ownership of the results. We cannot demand that, right? So great question, but it's not only the timing, but around 4, it's great. Before 4, and if you do the chanting a bit, before you sit back on the studies, you will see your concentration level, your consciousness will improve, will enhance further and further. Great. Thank you for that brilliant question, Devesh. Great. All right, so this is what we are trying to understand, that what we need to do. We have a chance to rectify ourselves, right? Why do people go in the jail? Jail is not a place to punish people. Jail is a place where people could go and they can reflect back what they have done wrong. And a lot of people, it says reformation. People go there, they reform themselves. They realize when they come out, they become a better person. Right? A lot of courses happen, a lot of education happens, and supposed to happen. It happens, but whether how many people are able to get it, that's a different thing. It's the same thing. When, if you think about, there are 30 kids in one class or 20 kids, depends where you are. And then a teacher is teaching about what everyone gonna take will be different. All the students will be different. Similarly, we are there on the planet Earth, whether we understand the purpose of creation. Do we understand the purpose of creation? And if you have not asked, then start asking. We should always be curious. Always be curious. If you will pick any Vedic scriptures, Vedas, Upanishads, Mahakavya, Ramayana, Mahabharata, let's say Bhagavad Gita or Shrimad Bhagavatam, they all are dialogues, question and answers, right? And this is what it is, right? Bhagavad Gita, Arjun asks questions, Krishna gives the answers. Shrimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, even before, there are many more rishis, but Parikshit Maharaj, he's asking the questions, and then Suta Goswamiji, he's giving the answers. And this is what Vedic wisdom is. Ask, be curious, especially at young age. Why at young age? Because if you won't, later what happens? We take things for granted. For example, everybody could see apple falling from the tree. Albert Einstein was not the very first one. He was the one, I guess. Yeah. He was not the first one who saw. He was the first one who became curious. Why apple falls down? And is it only apple? Or there are many more things as well? Prabhuji.
It was Newton.
Oh, sorry, it was Newton. When I said it, I thought something is wrong. Einstein was a different guy. Thank you so much. Right. I was so much focused on the point, but thank you. I thought. So good. And there are a few more kids. When they come around, they love correcting me. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. So yes, so it wasn't Newton. And similarly, many other scientists as well. It's not that they have done something new. They, of course, a lot of them, they have invented many things, but it all starts with the observation. We do need to observe where we are, what's the purpose behind it, right? Always and always. Whenever somebody will ask you to do something, especially elders, try to understand why, right? Why do you go to school? What's the purpose behind getting all that education? Is it just material? Is it just to get a bigger house, fancy car, expensive clothes? Or there is a bit more behind it? It says a chance offered to rebellious souls. So the purpose of creation, it says that we were there with Krishna, but we didn't want to follow all the rules and regulations. We saw, oh, Krishna is enjoying, we want to enjoy like Krishna, right? Imagine. So there are a couple of analogies we could think, like when I was in Middle East. So the king, there's no democracy there. So the king is there, or Sultan, in based on which part of Middle East you are in. It could be king, it could be prince, it could be the Sultan, and he enjoys everything. What if somebody else will say, I want to enjoy? Then what the king will do? King will say, well, you better go out somewhere where you could enjoy, right? And recently, I think last year or year before maybe, somebody, a migrant coming from different country, the group said in Australia that, oh, we want our own, based on religion, we want our own religious laws in this country, in Australia. An Australian Prime Minister said, well, if you want it, go back to your country and follow those rules. You are in Australia and you need to follow the rules in Australia. And that makes sense, right? If you are in Australia, you will follow the speed limit in Australia. If you are in UK or US, you will follow the rules there. Similarly, if we are on planet Earth, we need to follow the rules of planet Earth. But first, we need to understand the laws of nature. And that's what we keep saying, material mode of nature, because it's a material and there are three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. If we understand that, that will do everything for us. We do need to understand the rules and regulations, and then we can play along with it. And of course, being in the association of devotees, one day we will transcend, which means we will go beyond them. How is a later? Well, if very first thing, if we can understand that everything is happening within these three modes of material nature, right? So this is what it says, because we had the desires. We had the desires. So we would like to go out of it. And this is a beautiful verse. But what you could see here, there are so many different species. But each and every one, there is one thing common. There is a spiritual soul in it. There is a spiritual soul. We could be, based on our karma, in past life, we could be bird, animal. In future, we could be different. So it depends where we were, where we will be. But what do we have? It says 8.4 million species, 8.4 million species of life. And we will just keep going from one to another. And then from the Goloka chart, we see that there are 14 planetary systems, right? And this is the breakdown, if you're really interested. And so this is what it says. In Bhagavad Gita, you could find, now you might think, human form of like 400,000. So this is all coming from the Shastras, and the modern science agrees with it. Well, what do we need to do? Do we just want to keep moving from one to another? Do we want to do it? Have you seen the mosquito just dies within hours, sometimes in minutes? What happens then? Takes a different birth. But the human body is the only one where we have the consciousness. We can enhance our consciousness. The dog will not know much. The cat, no. But we could. But why we don't remember it? As Krishna says, as fire is covered by smoke. You know, the fire is there, but we see the smoke. Because of the smoke, we cannot see the fire. And the mirror is covered by the dust. We see the mirror, but after a while, we don't realize the dust is there on top of it. We get complacent. And it says, this is another beautiful analogy, as the embryo is covered by the womb, right? We can't see the baby. Similarly, we are the living entity. We are covered by different degrees of lust, which is the desire, right? We want this, we want this, we want this. Why people are going to offices to earn money? What do they want to do with the money? If you ask, then the answer would be before they want to enjoy in different form or shape. Some people would like to go, which is not bad. See, having a bigger house is not bad. But if you just want a bigger house so you can show off, you want a bigger car so you could show off your friends, a lot of people they do. I remember one of my friends bought a new car, and then he invited all his friends to come along and party just because he bought a new car. And I remember when I bought the new car, then my friend said that, oh, well, when are you giving the party? I said, but there is nothing. It's just a means of transport. If you need to buy it, buy it. But then again, you do need to have your focus clear that we do need the body, right? Because this is a vehicle for the soul. But the soul is the main thing. Remember the parrot in the cage? The cage could be golden. We could clean, and we do need to keep our body clean, body healthy. Similarly, we do need to take care of the cage. But the main thing is the parrot. Don't forget to feed the parrot. And the parrot is spiritual. Parrot is the soul we have. And the food for the parrot is spiritual, is Krishna consciousness. And that's the whole reason we are doing these sessions, where we could discover ourselves, right? So there's a lot here. We could go and we can think birds, beasts, trees. So this is how the conscious level improves. Human forms, the topmost human form. Why? Because we can study. We can study, we can understand, we have the higher level of intelligence. This is what we call sattva guna. This is goodness, right? What do we do in that? We seek knowledge. Aham brahmasmi, jigyasa. The inquiry we need to make, right? We do need to make it. And then we do need to understand life free from sins. But if we won't know what sins is, then how are we going to find out? We do need to know what sins are. And then only we could get ourselves away from it. We do need to know the knowledge, and how we'll figure out from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita explains what kind of knowledge comes under goodness and what kind of knowledge comes under ignorance. And this is what we need to figure out. But we are so conditioned by happiness. What kind of happiness? The material happiness. Material happiness. For example, the kids got the secondary exam coming. Why? But they love watching movies. They love going out because the sun is out, and that's one of the reasons their attendance is less, which is fair enough because so long we were in the lockdown. But then when the exams are there, can't we control ourselves from 4 days, 5 days? Not play Xbox or PSP and focus? No, because we are conditioned by the happiness. That happiness is only temporary, right? And what we say, early morning activities, as we usually say, that's in Satguru. This is another timing. So in the morning, when we go, what do we do? But this is what happens when people are rushing, because this is what we call Rajogun. So this is from goodness, we understood. Now the passion. What happens in passion? We keep running around. Doesn't really matter how much we get. How much we get, we want more and more and more. And all those activities, they are very, very, very material. Very material. And we just want to enjoy ourselves. Nothing else. For how long? From sunrise to sunset. There's no ending. If we got a job, we still have the end. Otherwise, we will just keep going and going and going. And what will happen then? Very soon we will figure out, if we won't, the way I will explain, mode of ignorance, which we are going to see now, ignore mode of ignorance. Eliminate from yourself. We don't need mode of ignorance, right? Mode of passion, control it. Engage in the service of Krishna. If you would like to make a temple, you need the passion. If you like to read Bhagavad Gita, you need the commitment to yourself. mode of passion. But mode of goodness is the one we need to acquire. So mode of ignorance, eliminate it. Mode of passion, control it, engage it, as and when you can use it. And then mode of goodness is the one where we are. And for everything, not only for our activities, our thoughts, our food, our friends, our association, the books we are reading, they all could be in different modes. And this is where we said mode of, this is where the people become lazy, right? In the lockdown, what people did, a lot of movies. Again, a bit of entertainment is not bad, but when it gets unlimited, right? We forget what's right and what's wrong. Isn't it true? We forget. People go for discos, alcohol, cigarettes. Why? Because they don't remember what's right and what's wrong for them. Why? And what happens then? What do we do when we go to the wrong places? We associate with the wrong people, right? Sleep late, wake up late. As I said, not only spiritual, but material. Any doctor could tell, we might not even need the doctors these days to tell us that early to bed and early we rise, it's good for the health, right? And that's the thing. What do? It's anything they do, it starts from evening and night, right? So very quickly, because 3 minutes left, let me stop here. Maybe we will start. This is a very, okay, somebody just joined. Right. This is the next part of it, which we will see, where we will see this is chapter, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 8, 9, 10, and then later 11 summarizes. But that's where it says what kind of food we need to have. And this is what we'll do next time, next Sunday. But food in mode of goodness, food in mode of passion, and food of mode of ignorance. And again, the body itself, because if body is good, the mind is good, right? If the vehicle is good, the driver is good. If the vehicle will break down, the driver cannot have peace of mind. So we do need to take good care of this body. And the food is one of the most important part of it. And Bhagavad Gita gives that. That's why we say we don't need anything else. Bhagavad Gita itself will give us everything we need. Everything we need. Now, somebody might say that, well, will it give you engineering information? Well, to become the engineer, you need to have engineering information, but the right attitude you need to study, that will come from Bhagavad Gita. Right? Okay, with that, 2 minutes left. Any questions or any comment, any feedback on anything? Today has been very quiet. Usually it's not that quiet. Maybe we was Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Please.
Hare Krishna. My daughter has also joined your session. Right now she is hearing your lecture.
Hare
Her
Krishna.
name is Sampurna Das.
Oh, yes, Sampurna is there. Hare Krishna. So good to have you, Sampurna. And well, Shivani just closed her camera. Shivani is there, Divesh, Divika there, Ishan there, and Aryan is there. So it's so good to have. And there are many more devotees who join and have their cameras open as well. But these days, a lot of activities going on. But it's always good. Whoever could make it, whatever time it is, it's always good to share the wisdom. But any feedback from anyone will be really good. Any questions, we should always ask questions. Be curious, keep asking questions. The knowledge is there from Bhagavad Gita, and chanting is there, which is the solution. So pick the chanting if you haven't started already. Maybe 1 in the morning, 1 before we go to the bed, which sets up the mood. We go and we know next thing in the morning we will. So it's like 360 degree. We start and we end with the chanting. But in the morning is beautiful, beautiful. It gives you that theme you need to have for the rest of the day. And of course, the food we eat and the consciousness we have. It's a beautiful, beautiful life, the devotee life. And we help each other. We help each other with no hidden agenda. And that's what Krishna said. That's what Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji said. Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji said that we need to. Shivani, would you like to say anything? You unmuted yourself? All right.
No, I just by accident unmuted it.
Okay, no worries. Great. I just thought it's good to. Right. Okay. So it's 7 now. We start at 6. We've complete finishes at 7. So thank you so much for everyone's association. And look forward to see you next Sunday at 6 p.m. Until then, keep chanting, keep eating good food, goodness, and look forward to welcome you again next Saturday, 6 p.m. UK time. With that, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gurudev Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Jai, Jai,
Hare
Jai,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you so much for being here. Looking forward to see you again.
No, Papaji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Shan. Hare Krishna, Devesh Deveka. Hare Krishna,